The Insta360 Go 2 released in March of 2021, or the Insta360 X3 released in September of 2022. If you had to choose which one of these two small action cameras would you pick? And the reason that I ask is because somebody commented on one of my videos about the X3 saying that the Go 2 actually has better picture quality because it has a single lens versus doing the 360. So that got me to thinking, is the Go 2 actually better? So like I said in the intro, a comment was left on one of my videos about the X3 saying that the Go 2, a camera that I have kind of downplayed a little bit, that I've talked about not really liking all that much, mostly that I haven't been able to tap to its full potential, that it actually produces a better image than the X3. And they claim that that's because the Go 2 shoots 1440 on a single lens facing forward, whereas the X3, it's 5.7K, it's 8K, it's 72 megapixel photos, is spread out over 360 degrees in two lenses. So I wanted to put that to the test. But before we get into the side-by-side comparison of the image quality between these two cameras, let's take a quick look at the specifications just in case you're not familiar. So the Insta360 Go 2, which as I said was released in March of 2021, has a 1/2.3 inch sensor. The actual camera is 2.1 inches by 0.9 inch by 0.8 of an inch. It films in a square of up to 2,880 pixels by 2,880 pixels, and that's exported out to 1440p or 2,560 by 1440. And in the other corner, we have the X3 released in September of 2022, and it comes with a pair of half-inch sensors. It is 4.5 inches by 0.8 of an inch by 1.3 inch. It films up to 5.7K at 30 frames per second in 360 mode. It also does 4K at 60 frames per second in 360 mode. In single lens mode, it can do 4K at 30 frames per second. And a couple other interesting things to mention about the X3 are it will do 8K time lapse and 72 megapixel photos. But again, those are spread out over the 360 sphere and across two lenses. And so let's look at a few other items regarding the Go 2. This is the 32 gig version. It has 32 gigs of internal memory. Insta360 did release a 64 gig version later on. The main camera portion of this will last for about 30 minutes between charges, but if you pair it with its little travel case, that's 150 minutes that you're able to use it for. It's waterproof up to about 4 meters or 13 feet. The main camera, again, there's no screen on it. It is literally just the lens and a button here in the middle, as well as a magnet on the back. You can long press, short press, multiple press for the different functions. Or you can pair it with the battery battery housing, and you can use the two buttons here. So how about the X3? What are some of the last few features that I want to highlight about that? Well, the first one is removable battery. You can have as many of these batteries as you want, and Insta360 says that they'll last roughly 80 minutes. You also have room for a micro SD card in here, so you can have as big or as small of a card as you really want. The X3 is also waterproof up to 10 meters or roughly 30 to 32 feet, and it comes with this awesome 2.29 inch touch screen, which is very responsive and rivals the GoPros. So now that brings us to the actual test. And to conduct this test, I wanted to kind of see a couple different things. So the main thing was I wanted it to be as even of a playing field as possible. I put them each on their own selfie stick. By the way, little sidebar, these are the respective selfie sticks. This is the smaller selfie stick that came with the Go 2. This is the larger selfie stick that came with the X3. This one is considerably longer, even fully extended, than this one. Just kind of an interesting thing to note. And so I put each one on their respective selfie stick, And the X3 is the one that I was really wanting to test because the Go 2, I left it in 1440 at 50 frames per second the entire time. Whereas the X3, I put it into 360 mode at 5.7K. I put it at 4K. I also did single lens mode in 4K and me mode, which is only at 1080p, I believe. And so once I was done with my tests, I brought all the footage into Insta360's desktop app. And this is where I was able to kind of make everything be equal from here on out. I did no keyframes. I didn't do any reframing of any kind. I wanted them to be equal. I turned flow state on for both cameras. And the one caveat that I did allow myself was I turned direction lock on for the X3 because I just wanted to make sure that the gyro didn't start kind of traveling around trying to find something to focus on. But other than that, I made sure that everything was exported into 16:9, and then I turned it up to the highest bit rate that I could at 200, and I exported it actually to 4K because you can actually size up or size down if you want. And so now it's time for the moment of truth. Here is the side-by-side footage between the Go 2 and the X3. This is audio on the Insta360 X3. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful day, almost no wind. Would honestly probably be perfect for an audio test in ideal conditions. And this is audio on the Go 2. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Insta360 Go 2. Audio test 1, 2, 3. So my initial thoughts when I was looking through the footage is that the X3 is a little bit darker, it's a little bit flatter, but the highlights and the lows were a lot better. I didn't lose as much, I felt like, in the highlights, and I didn't do the flat profile. I did all factory settings on this, whereas the Go 2, I felt like I was starting to lose a little bit in like my cheeks or in where some of the whites were, where some of the highlights were in some of the plants. And I also noticed that the Go 2 was considerably more orange yellow, a lot warmer, whereas the X3, that white balance felt like it was already on something cooler. By the way, one thing that you may have noticed is something that I have heard people talk about with the DJI Osmo Action 3 and the GoPro, and that's that these action cameras, they're not good for close-ups, whether that be just a regular close-up or if you're trying to get macro. And I was able to film a bumblebee that was on one of the plants, and you can really see that it is way out of focus. Everything behind it is in focus, but that's just the way that the software and the lenses work in these cameras. They're made to get more information and especially focus on things further away, not so much being right up there in your face. So which one of these two cameras would I recommend? The Insta360 Go 2 or the Insta360 X3? And personally, I'm going to go with the X3 because I just feel that this has more capabilities. It opens more doorways for you to be really creative with keyframes, with how you film things. At $450, it's pretty much right on line with a bunch of the other action cameras of its size and of its caliber, whereas the Go 2, you can get it for roughly $250 to just over $300. And there are some fun things that you can do with this as well. But I just feel that the X3, between the footage that you get, between the things that you can do with the different 360 modes, the different time lapses, it just lets you do so many more creative things. And I'm just really enjoying using it more than I ever really have the Go 2. But now I want to hear from you. Which of these two cameras would you prefer? Do you like the Go 2 better or the X3? Have you had a chance to use either of them, or is one maybe still kind of on that bucket list for you? What are some of the qualities that you're looking for in one of these kinds of cameras? Drop a comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, also please consider hitting that like button. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate you checking out this video either way, and I will catch you in another video down the road.